that I see some people joining in the group. So let me just spend one moment. Let me start by introducing our guest, Erdem. So welcome, Erdem. I'd like to introduce you very briefly. And Murat, you probably know Murat. He's the co-founder of BugBounter and also the Chief Security Officer. Erdem is our special guest joining in from Qatar. Just recently survived the World Cup 2022, which has been the largest event maybe for the recent years. And today we're going to make some comments about how the cybersecurity of World Cup processed, but that's more beyond the end of the session. Erdem is a senior solution architect and program manager in Microsoft Global Partner Solutions division, and he's looking after the entire Middle East and Africa region. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Erdem. And as a senior cybersecurity architect, he's managing the MSSP Partners Program in MEA, and also helping the selected Microsoft security partners for building managed security services offerings and go to market at regional scale as well. And he's currently based in Doha, Qatar, since 2021, early 2021. And he's taken an active role for protecting the cloud workloads and the critical infrastructure which is being built in Qatar, and especially for hosting the 2022 FIFA World Cup organization. So first of all, congratulations, Erdem. We haven't heard any cyber breaches regarding the World Cup, so this means good news. If there is anything in the background we're not aware of, so which is a good success. Congrats for that. And I really wonder the backstage stories. But today we would like to focus on Microsoft's most recent digital defense report, which has been published when, Erdem? Is it was a couple months ago?
A month ago?
The report actually is published almost 3 months now.
Oh.
Okay, so it's a very, very recent report, you know, just very, very fresh. And it's highly comprehensive, which I have, you know, seen a lot of data oriented, and it's not like a marketing report. It's got a lot of in-depth information. So I'd recommend all the participants, you know, you can download publicly, go and make a search as Microsoft Digital Defense Report 2022. You can find it on Google, and I really recommend this. So let me open up the session, Erdem, if you want. Shall we start, you know, discussing around ransomware and extortion, as we can say, because that's quite an important topic. So, you know, as we see, ransomware attacks are increasing every day, and the danger is also increasing every day. The cyber attackers getting more and more complex, you know, looking like highly reliable parties. And as a result, a lot of organizations are, you know, being in a harm as a ransomware. So let me give you the speech, and Murat, please join in the scene with some questions to give Erdem some sweat.
Thank you very much, Arif. Also, Mr. Murat, Lostar, and the whole team from BugBounter. Thanks for having me. And also thanks for the intro. I think it's a good idea to start with ransomware because we have seen a clear increase, a dramatic increase in terms of ransomware attacks against any organization at any size at global level. And it's harming a lot of organizations, especially the organizations with limited capabilities in terms of security operations and maintaining their overall security posture. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's become even more clear that security has to be a holistic and end-to-end because of the attack surface growing rapidly. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, a natural side effect of the digital transformation that we are all going through, which is also accelerating. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think any organization today is a target of cyber attacks. And among these attack vectors, ransomware is a priority, clearly. And it has been, I think, even a bigger issue, a bigger threat lately, especially in the last 2 to 3 years. And I think the pandemic also had a big effect on this, because it was one of the factors also affecting this digital transformation, kind of enforcing almost any organization again to become more digital. And with that, again, many more organizations became target of ransomware attacks. And according to the report that we have recently published, we have actually analyzed this phenomenon in detailed ways, also providing data from the field. Majority of this data is actually coming from Microsoft's own research, and our internal teams worked on this large data sets also to understand the patterns and in terms of how ransomware threats are evolving. And there actually we identified a number of points that we should all be, I think, aware, because now we also see this trend in terms of especially ransomware threat becoming more industrialized in terms of the operators, in terms of the criminal actors, leveraging the transformation of cloud and service models as a service models. Now we also start seeing ransomware becoming an as a service kind of business.
That's a new business, isn't it? Ransomware as a service. I love the phrase.
Absolutely, it is.
Let me quickly jump in. Also, there is a very nice terminology created by Microsoft experts. They call human-operated ransomware. That's not an. That's basically, instead of using an automated software, and there's basically humans are all in each step, and they're creating the ransomware on the fly by giving special decisions. Of course, this is probably targeted larger attacks, larger accounts, larger targets, because then you need to spare some human time. Erdem, I do have a question. I mean, when the ransomware was increasing a couple of years ago in the numbers, I remember one of the first healthcare industry targets, where in Germany there was a hospital, and because the hospital was simply just turned off, I mean, not only by IT, but also in medical systems as well, they were immediately trying to redirect the newcomers to different hospitals, and they were trying to move the patients to other hospitals. And unfortunately, that was one patient died during the transfer because of the critical situation of the illness. I don't know what the illness is. And I remember back then, the attackers were saying that we are sorry, we didn't think that it was an hospital. We were targeting a big group. We didn't know that that group had hospital within itself. So the hackers sort of created a press release saying that they were sorry. But nowadays, and my question is, do you see the same thing? What I see is the attackers are specifically attacking hospitals, healthcare organizations, because it is easier to create a sense of urgency to be paid faster for them. Do you have similar statistics?
Absolutely. The data is also showing us clearly that the motivations behind such attacks are also taking a new shape. And again, we have already stated that this is actually already a big business, a big industry right now. We have a growing number of different size actors with different motivations, but the techniques and in the end, at the end of the day, these is to get the money, get the ransom from the victim as fast and as smooth as they can at the end of the day. So that's why we see that they are targeting more vulnerable targets, vulnerable organizations. And besides the technical tools they are using, I think the motives and the social engineering techniques are also evolving. And this is, I think, another good example targeting public healthcare, critical infrastructure that can put pressure on people, I mean, compared to a specific organization or company targeting critical infrastructure or public healthcare services creates even bigger pressure on governments or on some decision makers. And that's also, I think, showing us another trend, again, taking a more concrete, I think, shape since the war began between Russia and the Ukraine. And we have also seen an increase in terms of nation state actors with different, again, motivations, choosing the more vulnerable targets, not always targeting the ransom end result, but also probably targeting other, kinds of impact. So that's actually another trend that we're seeing. Of course, doesn't mean that these are working in silos. Again, I think we have just mentioned the industrialization of ransomware as a business model. Different parties also collaborate because today we see that there are different parties taking part in just one campaign. For example, the ransom is developed by one group while another group is running the operations in terms of deploying the ransom, while maybe a separate group is driving the conversations with the victim to exfiltrate data or maybe to get the ransom. So we are also seeing multiple parties getting involved in this kind of processes. So it's also another sign that now these are also somehow interconnected. And I think that also shows us the trend, which is also mentioned in the report in details, that in the coming years, unfortunately, it looks like we will see even a more dramatic increase in terms of these vulnerable targets being attacked.
Yeah, when you mentioned the targets, for example, Erdem, sometimes when I talk to clients, they say, I'm a small company, how will they see me? They think the hacker is working alone in this sense, but it's not like that. There are the, recruiting groups, research groups. Some groups are saying, these are the target companies, go after them, and some are prioritizing them, some are attacking, some are mentioning, laundering the money, collecting money. There's financial side of it. So it's really a huge business, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think the numbers, again, showing us the big picture. But I think this trend of industrialization of this kind of criminal ecosystem has led to this new reality at a different level, I think, because contrary to the general perception of how ransomware is portrayed, especially in the media, as you said, most people and organizations consider themselves too small, maybe, to become a direct target, but it's actually not the case. And from what we have seen from the data, it is a rare occasion that for a single ransomware variant to be managed by only one party or one group, or let's say one single ransomware gang, it's perceived. Instead of this, there are separate entities, as I said, that play different roles in this process end to end. While one group is building the malware, another may be working on gaining the access to the victim's environments, while another group is specialized in terms of deploying the ransomware, and all together end to end, they are creating this kind of new model. And of course, we also see the increase, besides the human-operated ransomware, we also see the AI and automation playing a big role in terms of mass-scale campaigns at global levels. And we also mentioned a number of incidents that took place in the last year and how big impact they had on different size organizations. For smaller size organizations, I think that's also an important point to watch out. How they may be targeted with some automated AI-driven campaigns also at scale.
Okay, so in this sense, let me ask a question to the audience. So I will share a poll, and this poll is regarding the ransomware attack. I wonder if any of your colleagues, a friend, or another owner that as a company, it's not supposed to be your own company. You can say a friend of mine experienced a successful ransomware attack. So this is my question. Did we publish it?
Not yet.
Yes.
No, it's okay. No, it's here.
I did, yes.
I think for me, the answer is clearly yes. No doubt about it.
Well, maybe there's also maybe.
No, actually, we need 3 options here, Arif. No, yes, and multiple yeses. And
A big yes with capital letters.
Yeah, exactly. And Erdem and ourselves, I mean, it should be a big yes.
So, for example, how is the scenario can be calculated? I get a ransomware, but I got away without paying anything. So, does this count?
I think the follow-up question, maybe after this question, after getting the answer to this question, maybe the more important one, what did you do about it to avoid this happening again in the future? I think that is the real question, because interestingly, we are also seeing that more and more number of companies and organizations are being victim of different types of attacks, but particularly ransomware type of attacks. But even after such an event, we see that they kind of sometimes get lost in terms of how to build a strategy towards a resilience, a cyber resilience, or how to improve their overall security posture. So that's another, I think, like topic that should be top of mind for different organizations, because even if they know, they become aware that they has to improve, sometimes they don't know how to do that and how much it will take. I think that's also important. How much time, money, effort will be required.
So then let's jump to that topic. I think it makes very good sense. For example, how can the organizations take a look at cyber resilience from a holistic perspective?
Yeah, to the point, actually, cyber resilience is the key term that I think we should be thinking. And we see that this majority of these attacks, cyber attacks, are successful simply because some basic security hygiene has not been implemented, has not been applied properly. And there are actually very clear, straightforward minimum standards for every organization that's fairly easy to achieve, fairly easy to implement. And again, these are also mentioned in the report that we have published. But overall, I think all the organizations, big and small, should be aware of their end-to-end attack surface. I think that's the key term here, because we have begun the talk mentioning the digital transformation taking place at an accelerated, rapid pace, especially since the pandemic. But there's a side effect. Digitally transforming business processes, especially the processes that were maybe manual in the past, not digital, now becoming digital, is expanding this attack surface of the whole organization. And as the attack surface is increased, expanded, there are more attack vectors that can target these organizations. And being aware of these different attack vectors, or in other words, overall risks, is the starting point. I think the company or the organization should start then working on their strategy to prioritize the important ones to begin with, because we know that there is always finite resources for any company, even for the largest companies in the world. The resources are finite. The time is actually finite. So that's why prioritization also is key. But among all the different actions that can be taken, I think this list also is giving us a clear view of what are the top of mind improvements or considerations any organization should be aware of should start working on today. I can maybe list very briefly what kind of actions an organization can start, today. First of all, I think identity and access is the topic, I think, to begin with, because now with remote work and different devices in the work environment, not necessarily company-owned devices, a lot of different types of personal devices also. And in addition to that, I think, again, as part of the digital transformation, the IoT and OT becoming also part of the digital estate of an organization is now adding to this rapid growth of the attack surface of the organization. Access should be secure. And the basic mechanism to harden this access security is enabling multi-factor authentication for any user that's part of the organization. Actually, that is only part of the list of items in an action plan, but we almost always start with this action item because it's the simplest. It is the most basic and the easiest action item for any company. That's why I think it's also sensible to start with multi-factor authentication. I think Murat has a comment or maybe a question regarding this one.
I do have a comment. Just to add to what you just said, in the report there is, I read the report. It's not a short one, but it's a good one. But there was one line that was grammatically very simple and very effective, and I really liked it. Just to add to this specific topic, the line reads, "Today's attackers do not break in, they log in." And this is just a one-liner explanation to multi-factor authentication. When it first started multi-factor authentication, we always we're saying that, okay, you do have this authentication, but if you want to make this more secure, you need to add MFA, multi-factor authentication. But nowadays, it's reverse. MFA should be the default, and not having MFA would be unacceptable. I don't know what your take on this.
100%. But the reason, again, why we always highlight the importance of MFA is because, unfortunately, we see that still many organizations just skip this part. And surprisingly, we see this even in larger organizations who actually spend a lot of time, effort, and money to build a robust security strategy. Still, they may be overlooking this one. It's actually also very surprising. But absolutely, this should be the bare minimum and the default. But on top of that, I think a more holistic view and understanding of the security posture is required. And I think the most useful maybe framework that Microsoft is also using is the zero trust framework, the zero trust approach to overall security, which comes with three basic principles. Again, these are the principles, these are the guiding principles, and then the actions and the plan and the strategy is to be built on top of these principles. But I think in just three main pillars, it's also providing the right, line of sight or the right approach to, again, an organization at different size. Number one is to verify explicitly. So I think that's also aligned with the security of credentials and access security in the first place. The other is to use always least privilege, to provide least privileged access to any user, especially more critical users with administrative rights and with a high risk profile. And third is assuming breach all times. So even after taking all these measurements, implementing all these principles and putting them into practice, still the organization should always assume breach to be awake all the time, at all times.
I think it's surprising, Erdem, for example, when I see some customers, especially on the software development teams, how many developers are having direct access to production databases is incredible. And everybody
Yes.
is asking for the, permission from the, DevOps people, and sometimes they just give it away because, they say it's urgent, I have to solve this issue, and there are a number of reasons for asking it. But I know, for example, from Murat, how he makes the life of our developers as difficult as possible without giving any access at all.
I am not making their life difficult. I am just making life decent and secure.
Yeah. No, from their perspective, it's making their life difficult, but on the business perspective, of course, it's making us secure. So, I think it's the culture of the environment, isn't it?
I think that's a very good point, Arif, because maybe we should take a step back before even diving into security principles and the approach. Even before that, I think I always refer to the people, process, and technology triage in terms of identifying what's more important. And we see that companies are investing heavily in the technology, and they're also working hard to improve their overall operations, to optimize, to make them more secure. But again, people come first. And at the end of the day, the overall security posture of the organization literally depends on the people in that organization, how they behave, how they react, and basically what they do and what they do not do every day. Mm-hmm. I think this is also important point when an organization is planning again on their strategy and actions to improve their overall security posture. Investing in people, I think, is one of the most important, besides technology and processes being optimized and developed.
So considering the other items over here, for example, how good is Microsoft in terms of modern anti-malware?
I think so far we have proved that the Microsoft technology and products are among the best, I think, because this also backed up by the different reports and analysis lately, and also these are all public reports. And this is actually thanks to, again, the principles and how the Microsoft's portfolio is built on top of the Zero Trust framework and this approach. Because we believe that there is one attack surface, and it's actually, again, growing for all the organizations as part of the digital transformation that's taking place. So every organization should be capable of protecting this attack surface end to end. But again, technology is not enough. Also the operations layer, the capabilities, the ability to operate these tools, and not only the tools, also the people, and all together as an organization. This is also critical. But again, we know that the resources are finite, and especially looking at the global financial situation going on, again, maybe as a result of the pandemic. We also see that organizations, companies struggle to find the required resources. So that's why I think we depend on automation and AI even more. We have to leverage, we have to utilize these capabilities even more to do more with less at the end of the day. I think that is maybe the key approach, key term. But there's also one saying from Albert Einstein I really like. He says, try to make things simple, but not simpler. So I think that's also very important, because making things simple, being able to do more with less, or being more optimized is very critical, but we cannot cut the corners. We cannot make it simpler, which will actually create even bigger risks. So I think overall, the Microsoft tools and the approach altogether with the partner ecosystem that we have is enabling this transformation. and giving this ability to customers to do more with less, but also in a secure way and an optimized way.
Yeah. And also when you, for example, as you consider the attack surfaces getting wider and wider, every day, keeping, all the systems up to date is also a difficult task, isn't it? For example, the amount of software, hardware, all the framework, firmwares, whatever we may name, it's coming up with a lot of patches, a lot of zero-day vulnerabilities coming up. So, how can an organization, without having a highly mature cybersecurity team, can manage to be an up-to-date organization?
Yeah, also a very important question. And I think majority of our customers today are asking the same question. Again, because of the reasons that I just mentioned. And there, I think we see an accelerated shift towards the cloud, because cloud brings all these tools as services. And at the end of the day, the customer or the people in the organization should not be caring about any of these tasks like in the past, in terms of patching, taking the backups and making sure that the infrastructure and all the different stacks will be functional with a strong cloud security service provider, or in general, not necessarily security, but cloud provider. If they're aware of their SLA, and again, they are aware that what they're getting, because the shared responsibility model, I think, is also important here. Not every cloud provider is promising an end-to-end management and security to all the customers. So that's why I think that's also important to be mindful. But from Microsoft's perspective, we provide this clearly. And I think there is, from a security perspective, there is also another trend that we are seeing, and we are also supporting. Even after having these services from cloud providers, customers still need support at the operational layer, because maintaining security is an ongoing operation. And as we have been mentioning, the threats are also evolving. So every day we see new techniques and new threats out there. So there has to be people working every day on these things. And again, if you are not a security company, you cannot stay on top of all these different threats every day. So there, I think, in addition to the cloud providers, we see managed security service providers or managed service providers, at the end of the day, Microsoft's security partners, come into this picture, providing the management layer on top of these services, so that end-to-end, the customer can benefit from both the cloud and also in terms of getting managed services from a solid partner.
Erdem, let me quickly jump in here and ask you the question. I mean, sometimes when you talk with customers and users, and when they think about moving to cloud, they think that, okay, when I move to the cloud, that means I've sort of transferred all my problems, including 100% of my security requirements, 100% of things that needs to be done in security. So what's your take on this? What's your idea? Do you agree with this concept of when I move to cloud, I'm free of security? Also, maybe would like to talk about a little bit of cloud security inheritance concept. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking this. Actually, I would refer again back to the shared responsibility model here, which is, I think, foundational, because we also have seen this misunderstanding in general, that cloud providers or transforming and becoming a cloud customer will solve all the problems, especially from a security perspective, which is not the case. Actually, a strong security provider or a cloud provider is responsible in terms of providing the necessary tools, mechanisms, capabilities to the organization. And here actually we see Microsoft is doing exactly this, bringing a large portfolio which can cover the whole attack surface end to end with multiple tools, and also integrating all these different tools so that they can operate together in a connected way, just like the attack surface itself, because the attack surface is comprised of everything that are connected. So that is the starting point. But on top of that, again, at the service level, the customer needs to understand the agreement between the cloud provider and as a customer. What's the agreement? How are the responsibilities are shared? And how will the mechanisms will be working in the case of an incident, or not necessarily an incident, on a day-to-day basis? And how they can also work on the parts that still remain on the customer's side. And there actually, again, I think customers still need strong consultancy. And there, I think, again, identifying, selecting strong partners. In this case, if they want to outsource the whole operations, an MSSP or MXDR partner can be ideal. But there, I think that's also critical to assess these partners, to find the right partner, because if they already committed to a cloud provider, in our case, for example, if it's Microsoft Cloud, then they also need to be looking at strong partners that are accredited by Microsoft in terms of using Microsoft's technology, being able to show their competency. And then I think with this combination of these, then the customer will safely and I think in a good way can outsource some of the responsibilities. But again, it's not possible to outsource 100% of the responsibilities. Again, I will go back to the people, process, and technology. Technology is already outsourced to the cloud provider. The process and the operations may be outsourced to a strong MSSP or a partner service provider. But the people, you cannot outsource them. These are your people, your employees, the people in your organization. So that piece, I think, always remains as a responsibility in the customer's domain.
I really like the idea of shared responsibilities. With your permission, I can use it when talking to my clients, because sometimes I see this approach. Oh, we put all of our software on cloud. We don't need to do anything. So, this is such a, how do you say, wrong approach, which, I may name, but I wasn't able to phrase it. But now shared responsibility part, I love the idea. So in this sense, I'd like to start a second poll, asking the audience, how their security hygiene in terms of these 5 aspects that you have shared with us, like multi-factor authentications. You can select more than one. And let me just start this. And if you're using any of these, please click them. So are you enabling multi-factor authentication? Are you applying zero trust principles? Are you using modern anti-malware? Are you keeping up to date with your patches, firmwares, and are you doing good things to protect your data? For example, giving training is also a part of it, isn't it? It's not only putting up, hardware devices or other software in terms of protecting data.
Absolutely. I think ongoing training is an essential part, should be an essential part of the strategy, because again, it comes to the people at the end of the day. And I think even beyond training, there has to be an approach to really change the behavior. And that's actually much more difficult, because you can train people, you can provide information, and you can even test them to see if they have acquired these skills. But it doesn't guarantee you that they will apply those learnings the next day, the next week, the month after that. And this change towards a more secure posture can only happen if we are able to change the behavior of the people, not just train them, not just make sure that that they get this knowledge, but being sure that they will put that into practice. And there, I think we also have good tools that have proven success, also provided natively in the Microsoft's security products. There can be different attack simulations, for example, to really test if people are behaving the right way. So that can be one of the things. I think also for, besides the regular users, also for technical experts, SMEs in the organization who are responsible in terms of managing the IT infrastructure and security altogether, can also go through different activities, such as, for example, different drills, different kind of cyber war games, if you want to make it more fun. So I think these also should be a part of the strategy.
Yeah, people like it gamified, don't they? Especially these days, because trainings are kind of boring. You don't want to get any more training. Competitions are nice, making little quizzes, putting some reward mechanisms at the end, not only punishments. But even I know that from some of the IT managers, they say, for example, they make a test within the organization. They say, please do not click on this email, and they still click. And the people who do this are from the IT team. So even his own team is compromised in a way. So the ones who are supposed to be the role models are doing the wrong stuff on their own.
Arif, I would like to remind you of a nice old music group. It's called Curiosity Kills the Cat,
Yes, curiosity. Let's see what happens. So we have like a last 15 minutes. Shall we change the topic to a little bit more fun, Erdem? So were you a fan of Argentina as well, or did you have another favorite team?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not into football in general, but for the last couple of years, I have been in this environment, so I cannot do anything. I learned a lot of new things about football and players and different countries. In the beginning, I was actually in between Portugal and Argentina. I think for obvious reasons, Ronaldo and Messi. But later on, because Portuguese could not carry on in the tournament, I was supporting Argentina because I was actually favoring Messi.
Wow.
Before moving to how did you secure it, and maybe one or two soon to be public anecdotes that you'd like to share, Erdem, would you please describe us how you personally and Microsoft as a company involved with the World Cup?
Microsoft played a major role in the FIFA World Cup organization, and it actually starts, I think, even before the World Cup itself, maybe. Although the Qatar hosting the World Cup was announced years ago, but a lot of things happened inside Qatar after that, since then. And Qatar actually had a much bigger vision. Besides the FIFA organization hosting the World Cup, they also had this vision to transform the whole country digitally. And even in the near future, planning to make Qatar a hub in the region for different digital startups and also big worldwide organizations, just like the FIFA organization. So with all these big, broad, ambitious vision out there, again, the answer was cloud infrastructure and cloud model. Because not only the government institutions, but also all the companies inside Qatar, commercial, government, big and small, had to be part of this digital transformation. And the journey actually started with our announcement of a local data center in Qatar. We have more than 60 data centers we had at the time, globally, Azure data centers. And in the Middle East and Africa region, we already had a number of data centers locally available. One in United Arab Emirates, another was in Saudi Arabia, Israel, and South Africa data centers were already there. But in addition to those, there was a decision to bring a new data center, Azure data center, into Qatar, in Doha. And the whole, almost everything, the whole plan was built on top of this, because with the power of a local data center, all the workloads could be taken directly to the cloud. And also with the benefit of having a local data center, again, data residency and other issues or maybe considerations should be addressed directly. So with that, the journey started with the data center. I think I can say that. And with the launch of the data center, we started this huge, immense digital transformation project with the whole, country, including government and commercial customers, organizations inside the country, and including the FIFA itself. And with that, we started a program called Zero Trust. No surprise, I think the naming already tells the story and what was the motivations. So with the Zero Trust program, we worked, of course, with the support of our local partners and also global partners. We worked with these thousands of different entities, our customers, to make sure that they are digitally resilient. Their cyber resilience overall is there with the right principles and right practices. And honestly, FIFA and the World Cup was part of this much broader transformation. But FIFA was, of course, top of mind as this huge organization. And there were multiple challenges and some interesting, exciting things that we have achieved for the first time, I think, in the history. One such example is the digital IDs that we distributed to literally nearly 1 million people coming into the country, because for the World Cup, we were expecting over 1 million fans coming from different countries. And it was accurate, I think, the expectation, because we have seen nearly 1 million people coming in. And big majority of these people came to Qatar for the first time in their lives. They were never been in Qatar before, which means you may call them as aliens to Qatar, because you don't know these people. And if you try to process, starting from their entry into the country, like if you use the classical methods to process their passports and their IDs and everything, you cannot deal with that with such an immense number of people coming in. So that's why there was this digital identification application, and we called it Haya. And if you have heard the official soundtrack for the FIFA World Cup organization, you may also have heard it there, like the song was Haya, Haya. It was repeating that. So the application was also called Haya. It was basically a mobile application that every single person coming in to the country installs on their apps, on their mobiles. And with the help of that, we tracked all the activities. It was basically the digital identity of these people during the time they spend in the country. And it involved going into the stadiums, going into different places, checking in hotels, and when necessary, going to hospitals for healthcare. And you can imagine all sorts of different activities. So that was one of the first big scale, I think, applications of such a digital identity project. And it worked successfully.
Wonderful. And besides all such a huge project, I believe cybersecurity was also a major part of it. Trying to defend the entire World Cup event from malicious attackers, because I believe there should be maybe millions of attacks trying to benefit from this, even with fun maybe, or with bad attitude, you should have received. So how was the management from that perspective? Did you have lots of sleepless hours?
Yeah, I mean, if we measure it in terms of how many hours we did not sleep or how many cups of coffee we drank, it could maybe give the idea. But from the other angle, Qatar, as I think, if it's the same, probably it didn't change, is already #1 worldwide in terms of GDP. So it's a rich country with a lot of resources. And that already makes Qatar one of the top targets of global cybercrime and all kinds of different malicious activities. In addition to this, the World Cup event, again, having mentioned the nearly 1 million people also coming into the country, made it the #1 target, obviously. And the target was also, of course, besides the country and the infrastructure, also all these people coming into Qatar, because they're using their credit cards and different payment systems in restaurants, hotels, and again, lots of critical infrastructure also playing a key role. And also having mentioned that there are, I think in the beginning, we have touched base that there are multiple actors today. Not necessarily some cyber criminal groups, but also nation state actors are there as well, who may have different motivations to sabotage or affect negatively such a large organization, and also the reputation of the whole country, and again, different organizations, including FIFA. So from a risk assessment perspective, yeah, the risks were pretty obvious. And again, that's why the work started years ago. And not just by building some different systems and operations and teams, but from ground up, building a new Microsoft Cloud data center and transforming different entities in the country, and also bringing that culture. And again, that's the part that takes time. But this is kind of summarizing this huge investment that's been made. But I'm glad, thanks God, that it's now the FIFA World Cup is over, and all this investment and effort paid off. And there were no major, event or incident that impacted the overall organization or the people inside the country. So that's actually a big success. It's something we're really proud of. And also we, of course, had a lot of new learnings. Again, there has been a number of things that have been applied for the first time, such as the digital identity application, but that's just one of them. And I think with all these learnings, this will also guide us to probably support other worldwide organizations, maybe the Olympics or maybe different kinds of organizations in the future, because we know that these organizations takes place in different countries, and lots of parties and companies and groups get involved. It's a collaboration, and again, bringing this kind of holistic, secure, resilient operation with multiple parties is not an easy task. So I think even for that, we got really valuable learnings that we can hopefully apply in the future.
I just have one question, then I will give the speech to Murat. Did you use outside testers in terms of how good you have done the security posture? Like I don't know, like bug bounty services or pen testers, red teamers outside the Microsoft teams. With what I mean.
Yes. Actually, we also have our partners. It's not just Microsoft and us. It's a collective effort with multiple parties. And again, being a member of the global partner solution inside Microsoft, my day-to-day job is actually to work with our security partners. And in these preparations and operations, our partners also played a key role. And among these partners, yes, we had different partners helping us with different, taking on different tasks, including bug bounty, red teaming activities, different assessments, lots of guidance, and also a number of MSSP partners who help our customers inside the country to accomplish their digital transformation in terms of adopting to zero trust.
Okay, Murat?
Yeah, I know that we are running out of time, and I'd like to let some time for the audience as well. But my first question would be, Erdem, in mid-November, I remember some news saying these mobile applications of the FIFA World Cup has been hacked. I'm not sure if it is directly related with you or not, but have you heard about those news, and do you have anything that you'd like to share with us? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, yes, I'm aware of the news in the media, in the public media as well. That so far, as far as I can tell, that has been handled. And again, the actions taken in terms of avoiding possible damage during the organization. And again, that's another good thing that I'm glad that we did not see any impact throughout the event. And I think it's pretty obvious, again, as I said, Qatar as a country and also hosting such a worldwide event, big event during a certain amount of time will be the target of all kinds of cyber criminal activities and groups. So that was, I can say, I cannot disclose, but generally I can say that was only one of the things. There are, of course, many more other incidents, but again, I think I should say I'm glad that this collective effort, Microsoft, our partners, and the country, the whole Qatar, came together, partnered to really manage this properly, and we didn't see any impact in terms of the overall organization.
So what they say, knock the wood, knock the teeth, pour the salt. So I believe you have developed a lot of superstitious stuff.
I mean, the superstitious part, we outsourced that part. We focused on the zero trust principles and implementing. That was kind of our agenda.
I believe you had a lot of inshallah from the parties in Qatar. So thank you very much, Erdem, for being here with us, sharing your experiences. And thanks to audience. I don't see any questions coming in. So I think we're good on time. And this will be published in our YouTube channel as well. So whoever would like to spread these words to their partners, colleagues, friends, feel free to join in and see the footage. I think in 1 or 2 days, it will be edited and published on our YouTube channel as well. And then we share with you the links. Murat, do you have something to say?
No, it was just, I was not aware of it. My hands were still raised, but as I have that, thank you very much, Erdem, for joining us and sharing this experience as well as knowledge. Back to you, Arif.
Okay, so hope to see you next time.
Thank you, Erdem.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.